Hello everybody, this is John O'Phil with Siler Design Solutions. In today's webinar we're going to cover how to create a Revit update script with Dynamo. And so with that you'll need to have of course the Autodesk Revit program or the Dynamo program installed. And one way to open Dynamo is actually through your Revit program. You can go to your Manage tab when the program's open, and you'll see Dynamo over here on the far right of the ribbon. And so you can also just open up the Dynamo from your Autodesk folder as well, but I prefer using the Dynamo open from Revit. That way, if you're working on a Dynamo script that deals with a particular file, you can actually see it in action. So when you do that, you'll have to also start a new file or open a file in order to be able to open Dynamo as well. So when you go through and have those two software open, Dynamo will open up, just depending on the version of Revit that you're using, will depend on the version of Dynamo that's open. And so what we're covering today can be created in older versions of Revit and Dynamo as well. And we'll go through how to add in particular packages as well to make this particular update script work for us. So we see that we have Dynamo open here as well as our Revit program, and it will look just like this. It just says Dynamo across the top. The files location is where we can create new files, use custom nodes, or open existing. You can see that we have a recent item as well, so you can actually see what you've been working on. You can go to the forum or the website from here. It has a lot of great info and a lot of great communication between other script writers, developers, things like that, and also your references as well. So along with that, what we need to do is we'll go ahead and just start creating our new script here. So what we'll do is we'll select new from the files location, and you should see something that looks like this when it opens up. And I'll just maximize this, makes it a little bit easier. So when you create that new file, what we'll need to do is, first, what do we do within Dynamo here? Well, we're actually telling these components to do certain things within Revit today, but you can use it for other programs as well. And you see here in the library these different areas over here on the left-hand side. These are just for creating these scripts, and they go along with the different headers of these categories, allowing you to input different information. And this information can either draw out from Revit or other software and create and do different things. And so we're actually going to create one that will update Revit files, like our project files, template files, and family files as well. Makes it a heck of a lot faster and easier. And so what we need to do from here is I like just going up to our File menu tab and selecting Save As. And this just gives it a name for this particular script that we're using. So notice the extension is DYN here. And what I'm going to do is just call this our Revit update. And you can store this wherever you want. This location can be anywhere on your computer, out on the network. It doesn't matter the location. That's another nice feature where you could share this script with other people as well if need be. So I'm just give it that name there, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop real quick. And so now we see that name up here on this tab. Now you can have several of these open, swapping back and forth, but what this will allow us to do is just keep track of what we're working on here. And so now our next step is, just because the Dynamo software doesn't have everything that you need, depending on the discipline that you're working in, you could need additional features to create some of these scripts that you're working with. And so what I like doing is going up to this packages location up here and selecting search for a package. So while this says please wait, syncing with the package server, it allows us to take a look at all different packages. So if you know MEP or different things like that, you can actually get this to populate different things just by searching. And so today what we're going to need to type in is rhythm. And so this rhythm allows us to add additional features for our script to talk to Revit a certain way to be able to use this script. And so you'll notice that you have a little install latest version and this little drop down arrow to the right of that. And so you can actually go to that version, install latest version to a particular folder, or install the latest version from here. But when you select that, it just says, hey, this is the current package for that, and we'll select OK. So what that does, it says go ahead, and one of its dependencies contains Python scripts, binaries. It's just kind of a little warning, but it's okay. We want all of that information to come through. So we'll select OK, and so that is now downloading. And we can see how that add-on package is now available over here on our right-hand side. And if I expand it, notice that we've got several items here available. So we'll be able to use this information to add to our generic stuff that's within Dynamo to create our script here. So we'll go ahead and close this now. And so what we're going to do is go ahead and get started on this script. So, I mean, if you want to change how this background looks, you can definitely change this information. You can zoom in and out. You can pan and move, zoom to fit. But once we start placing this stuff out here, you'll see how pretty interactive it is just for a basic user. So what we're going to do is we're first going to need to tell Dynamo to look at a specific location for these files to update. And so that's where we're going to start putting in directory path. Now, yeah, you could expand all of these and start looking for this stuff, but myself, I think it's a lot easier in this search to go ahead and find this stuff this way. So if we start typing out our directory path, notice how it starts bringing up everything with that particular word or words that we're typing out there. We see that directory path here. If you just left click on it, it adds that little tab out here that we see, and you can then see that it's available to browse. It says no files are selected, and this is our directory path button, which we will select and add to our next item. And so our next item is directory from path. So that's where we can just keep coming up here to the search and keep typing that out, or as we see here, it's listed right on our directory path. We can go ahead and add that out there as well. And if you ever see anything that has these little yellow warning signs, it just means that it isn't connected and set up yet. So don't be worried if you see that right off the bat. It's just saying, hey, this has nothing connected. I have no information. And so that's why you're going to see that little warning sign there. And so what that directory path does, it just ties that specific location of the directory in those files. So then our next item is actually to get file system, and it's the get directory contents. And so when we start typing out that get directory. So, whoops, sorry, typing that out. Now notice how that's not really coming up there. So we want to actually tell it it's a file system. So when we start typing out that file system there, and we can see where that file system is located. Now, kind of like when you're putting in your upper lowercase within Revit, Dynamo acts the same way. So it actually wants you to put the information together. So see, now I put in file system, and it's actually starting to find these items here. And notice you can actually scroll down. It's got a little scroll bar here on the right. So if you don't see anything right off the bat, it might just be because it's down here towards the bottom. And so we're actually going to select this get directory contents here, and we're going to add this out. And so what that get directory contents allows us to do is add the directory of the search files that we're going to add. So now what we're going to do is add something from that rhythm package, and it's under applications. And that particular item is applications open document file. So if we start typing out our applications, and so we see that I just barely start typing it out, and we can open up this open documents file here. And notice how it's got that little rhythm information there. Now, if you didn't have rhythm installed, you wouldn't be able to add all of this. And if you ever uninstall the rhythm package, this will become red with like a little mark through it telling you that that package is missing. So if you ever accidentally move that rhythm package or any other packages, just make sure that you repath those. And so what this open file document does, it basically opens all the files in a background through Revit, and that way you don't have to manually open all of these files. And that's what part of it that actually helps speed up the process of updating your Revit files. So then our next step is also from the rhythm package, selecting the application close document, because we want to close the file and save it at the same time. So notice that this got this rhythm over here. We're going to select a closed document. And I'm just stacking these just like so, but we're going to come back and clean this up as well and see how you can just roll your wheel back and forth. That allows you to zoom back and forth. Of course, you can, hit your plus and minus up here on the screen as well that we see. All right, so our one of our next to last items, what we'll do is we're going to add watch. And so when we add watch, see how there's watch display, 3D, and image. It just depends on what you're trying to do. But this default watch up here for the display just gives us a text output of, what were there warnings? Did it fully go through with the process? It just allows us to see if that script went all the way through. And so now we've got that watch. Now, what we'll also need is what's called Boolean. And this is a yes, no, true, false. Is this going to happen, yes or no? And so we'll go ahead and start typing that out. And so we've got that up here, and you can see how it's got that true, false. It's just a basic input tool, and we'll add this here towards the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and start organizing and putting this thing together with our connections. And what we can do here is first, we'll go to our directory path over here. And if you left click on anything that has any of these particular arrows, this is actually going to allow you to connect those items there. And so what I'm going to do is just, you want to take each of those that have the same name and basically connect those. And so what that does, it just chains all this together. So it's saying this directory path is going to go through, grab these files. These files are then, these particular documents coming through. It's going to open, it's going to save, it's going to close, and also it's going to give us a listing. And also, when we hit save, do we want it to be true and false? So let's go ahead and just finish out this pathing here. So all of these documents are going to come through here. And so what's that result? We're going to watch the result. But we don't have anything on save, and that's where this Boolean comes in. So if we come down here, and notice you can go back and forth with that connector as well. Is it true or false? And we're going to select true because we want it to open, we want to save it, and we want to close it, and we want to make sure everything is set there. All right, so now what we want to do is before you actually run anything, and this is probably a good step to do as well when you open up Dynamo, is make sure down here at the bottom left that when you have opened it for the first time, it'll be set to automatic. You definitely want to make sure that this is set to manual. So make sure that manual is set. It's going to require us to hit the run button. Otherwise, it's constantly running everything that you add to this. And so now what we can do is let's just make sure we've got some files out here. I've got a copy of some content out here. So I've got families, got a template, I also have a RVT project file. Notice these are 2018 and 19 files, and we're working with 2020 right now. So what we want to do is let's path to this directory. So if you click on the browse, it just says, okay, where are we going to? And so I'm going to select that copy of update files here. And you do want to make sure that you are using a copied location. You don't want to do this directly in the original location. Otherwise, you could actually overwrite some of your content. Plus, it makes best practices if you're not overwriting your direct items as well. Okay, so we see that that information is populated there. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we've got here. So let's go ahead and hit run, and I'm just going to minimize this a little bit, and there we go. So truncate that guy down, and let's take a look at what's happening. So we see down here it says the run has started, and if I open up our Revit screen, here we go. Let's just minimize this guy here a little bit. And we can see that flashing of those systems there. Okay, so we see that our files are being updated. It's still running here. And if I open up this folder path here, and let's just get into that, we're starting to see these backup files. And so notice that the overall file itself just been updated. We see that the backups have been created as well. And also those files were just all completed there, and we can see that done rather quickly. So it's still working in the background because it is trying to finish that up there as we see. And I don't know why it's not letting me switch over to Revit here, but what we'll do is we'll be able to see that here in this watch. All right, so there we go. All right, so now our watch list, we see we have 0 through 9 items have been closed out. That means everything has been completed. We have a total of 10 items here we see at the bottom. And so you can look over here, and let's go back in that folder, and we can see all of those files. So the project, the template, and all families have been updated. And notice the 2020, and so we see all that information is now updated and selected there. So you also have a couple of other options. If you look here at this open files document, Notice that you do have an audit, a detach, and preserve work sets. Now, what you can do is you could add these true false booleans to that. Do we want to audit? Maybe it's a central file that you're working with. Detach from central. Do you want to preserve the work, yes or no? You can add these booleans, and you can simply just copy these. You can remove these, create groups. So if you wanted to group all of these together, you could grab all of that and create a group out of that. And here's how you can just, if you had like multiple scripts that you wanted to run separately, you could actually group those like that. So now, we can just call this our update script here. And we see that we have that available. You can change the background color if you need to. I mean, it's not anything fancy. It's just something to tell the software what it's going to be doing. And we didn't have to open up each of those files to update, make sure it's gone through all the processes. So if you did need to add additional items, you can always ungroup these two if you need to, or re-add items. But you can just simply select those to Control-C, Control-V, and that allows you to be able to do that. So see now, if I want to audit, I can say, is that true or false? And you swap those back and forth, and you can continue adding those just depending on what you're looking to do as well. So now I've got all of those booleans saying yes or no, and those are going to control those items as it's opening and then saving and then closing those out. So if you had, other additional strings that you wanted to add, maybe I wanted to only do like RTE files or RFA files, you could definitely put that in that search string. So right now its default is anything, whatever's in that directory. So that's what it's going to look through. You can also add subdirectories as well, and then default those out that way. It doesn't matter. They don't have to line up. They can be just drug over the top of each other. As long as those connectors are connected to each other, this is actually what's going to control that information. So literally, we just set up a quick script within Dynamo. We downloaded the Rhythm package that helps us go through and add that additional Revit information to be able to run the script, do certain features like open and close and save in the background. That's what this Rhythm portion allows us to do. And then also we were able to verify that those items have been opened, saved, and closed. And so let's see. So yes, and when this saves out, you can go ahead and just close that. And what that allows you to do, it says, hey, do you want to save those unsaved changes? If you select yes, it closes it out. But then next time under recents, all you have to do is just double click on that or single click, and that opens that up for you there. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed the webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of us at cadtechnical@seiler-ds.com, and you can always get a hold of us through phone and through our website as well. All right, enjoy the day, and thank you for your time. We'll talk to you all later.